Hey there, this is Lyndsey Parker at Licorice Pizza Records here in the Valley with the Valley legend, Slimdan. You are here to perform, and I believe you also brought us burritos or something like that.
I could have brought you burritos. I think my sweet manager, Kelly, may have just come in with some tacos maybe from Homestay.
All right.
Yeah.
Breakfast of Champions.
Yeah.
So you are, like I said, a Valley legend. We were talking right before this. I grew up in Tarzana.
Yes, you did.
You grew up in Sherman Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool. And you still live in the Valley. You still representing the 818?
I ran away for a big portion of my life. I went to Boston for school, and then I lived in everywhere in LA, but I thought if I moved back to the Valley, that meant I lost the game. I thought it was over. But then I moved back to the Valley last year, and I'm in Valley Village.
But then you realize, like, everyone, like, I don't know, like, not that they're necessarily cool, but, like, a lot of celebrities live in the Valley. Like, I believe the Kardashians live in the Valley. Dave Grohl lives in the Valley.
The Kardashians, Dave Grohl, Slimdan.
There you go.
I feel like what happens is you realize that, like, it's like everything in life. Like, you realize what your parents were doing was actually really cool, and you thought it wasn't cool. I used to think it was the lamest thing ever, but now all I want to do is, like, take a destination walk to a coffee shop and, like, come back, and I don't know. The Valley rocks. I came full circle on it.
And it rocks because the one and only licorice pizza that's left in the world is right here.
Bada boom.
And there used to be at the Sherman Oaks Galleria.
The Sherman Oaks. Wait, there used to be a licorice pizza at the Sherman Oaks Galleria?
There was, yeah.
When?
I mean, in the 80s. That's when it was the Galleria, not like the office park it is now, but like the proper, like.
What was happening at the Galleria in the 80s?
Oh, I'm about to school you about Sherman Oaks. And
yeah, sorry, I have more questions to ask you. I feel like as an OG Valley person.
Well, I mean, you've seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes.
That was the mall. The Sherman Oaks Galleria.
Oh, I didn't even recognize
Do you know the song Valley Girl by Moon Zappa and Frank Zappa? It talks about basically it was like the Valley Girl culture, like that was the mall. Like, did
they have the fountain and everything back in the day?
You grew up in the epicenter of Valley Girl cool, and you didn't even know.
I was like paying attention to Castle Park. I wasn't.
But I want to talk about, like, you mentioned, obviously we're talking about how you grew up here, and then you went to Boston to the Berklee College of Music. But you've had an interesting background because even though you grew up in, I guess, Sherman Oaks is L.A., but you grew up in kind of like a little bit of a bubble, right?
Yeah.
So tell me, I think it's an interesting story.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I grew up in the Valley, but my family is Orthodox. If you grew up in the Valley, you probably see the Orthodox Jews walking around on Saturdays. That was like my people. Like I was one of those people walking around on Saturdays because
you were raised Orthodox.
I was raised Orthodox.
Okay.
So as much as I feel like I grew up in Los Angeles, or as technically it is Los Angeles County, I grew up in the Valley, which is already like an other thing, and then I grew up in an Orthodox community in the Valley. So I didn't really I didn't know East L.A. existed until like 7 years ago. I thought everything east of Highland was Dodger Stadium, and
I mean, it kind of is.
You're right. To me that's what it was. And then like all of a sudden my friends were talking about Silver Lake when I moved back from college, and I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That is hilarious.
Yeah, I definitely am. I feel like I've gotten to understand LA and appreciate it as I've grown older.
So if I ask any questions that are sort of ignorant, let me know. I'm actually Jewish myself, but like not. I wouldn't say secular, but like whatever. What do they call it? Reformed? Like I'm not.
I love that for you.
I was not raised super religious.
No questions off limit.
Went to a lot of bar and bat mitzvahs in my day, and they were always pretty lit. That was a Valley thing. Mm-hmm. But I don't know much about what it's like to be Orthodox.
Yeah.
So were you allowed to, how much exposure did you have to like secular culture, secular music,
so
pop music?
Totally. So my parents are modern Orthodox, so my mom like works and like they participate in society, and I was lucky enough to have a mom with great taste in music, so she was kind of like dealing with the Paul Simon and the Beatles of it all, so I was getting a good steady diet of that. But I would say as far as like discovering music on my own, I would sneak off to the TV room and watch MTV, the TRL. So it was a weird hybrid of me getting like deep Simon and Garfunkel cuts and like Flo Rida and the Black Eyed Peas.
I mean, that's pretty cool.
And I feel like I land somewhere in the middle of that.
So actually, right before this interview, when we were like chatting about stuff and we were talking about how we're both from the Valley and stuff, you had said something like you wish you could have made music in 2005. That was a specific year you said, which is like TRL was in full effect back then. What was it about that era or that time? What made you say that?
Maybe it's me romanticizing I feel how old was I? I was 10 years old, so maybe I'm romanticizing my childhood a little bit, but I also think that maybe my kind of music was a little bit more valued at the time, and there was also less music to compete with.
I mean, 2005, that's before. I mean, it wasn't totally before streaming. It was definitely before Spotify.
Maybe, what was like early YouTube, like 08 or something, or 05?
I think YouTube started in 2005.
Yeah, so I very much so came up on early YouTube, and I remember discovering bands for the first time on like La Blogatech and like shit like that, where it was like people knew about it, but it wasn't available to everybody the same way it is now. So I don't know.
MySpace was maybe not 2005, but like in the aughts, MySpace was a way a lot of people discovered music.
100%. I mean, I was on the tail end of MySpace. By the time I was like really making music, SoundCloud had kind of emerged as the thing. But yeah, I think like me opening for, I don't know, Counting Crows in like 05, like I feel like that would have ripped.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
I like how you said, I mean, I agree with you when you were saying how that was the time when the kind of music you make was more valued, because it kind of, I mean, obviously indie rock or whatever, I mean, that's a term where it's like, what exactly does it even mean? But it's still valued now. But like, there were a lot, the Strokes were really big then.
Totally.
The Yeah Yeahs were big. The White Stripes were big. All those kind of like garagey bands were big, and Death Cab was huge, and the OC was on, and like, all these like bands would be on. So yeah, so that is kind of the era in which you
I think it also paved the way for like interesting bands like Say Anything and like stuff like that, where like they kind of replicated that but made it their own. I don't know. Max Bemis is a big inspiration of mine, and he's a LA Jew guy, songwriter guy, but I think like he saw that, and then obviously the pop punk thing was happening at the same time, and I feel like he merged this singer songwriteriness and like the songwriting with the pop punk thing in an interesting way. I don't know, that would I just think about that. I do little mental experiments on what would have happened if I would have been alive then, or cool. Doing the thing
maybe
that I was
alive.
Maybe
at the right time, because you're doing cool stuff now. Second Dinner is actually, you're celebrating at Licorice Pizza the 1-year anniversary. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you did a sort of, I don't know if you want to call it a remix version, but like a duets version of it.
Yeah, we did like a feature version of it where I just had a bunch of buddies hop on and sing songs so I can steal their fans, that kind of thing. No, they were very nice.
How did you name some of the people and how you were shooting? Because it's a pretty impressive roster there.
Thank you. Let's see. My buddy Johnny is on it, who's an incredible artist. My friend Lennon Stella is on it, and Medium Build, and Ethan Tash, who's amazing. It's just selfishly, I wanted to hear my friends sing my songs, you know what I mean? And Adam Melcher's on it, so I just kind of bothered them until they did it, and then they did it.
That's so cool. So going back to sort of your unique to a lot of people upbringing, you mentioned that you went to Boston. So yeah, you grew up in a bubble of modern Orthodox culture here in Sherman Oaks.
Yeah.
And then you went to Boston, which, by the way, my mom is from Boston. So
Shout out Boston.
A lot of connections here. Yep. She's from Waltham. And Filing's Basement. I don't know if that's still around. But anyway, you went to Berklee. So that must have been, I imagine, a culture shock to go from where you grew up to that.
I hid in my room for the first semester.
Literally?
Literally, I would go to class and come back. I was so scared.
Why?
The world is so big and scary, Lyndsey. It's all these different types of people. I'd only met Jewish people. I only knew like my kind of valley people, really. And then I went to school, and there was all these different types of people. And I had never had formal music training. I was all self-taught, and all these kids were like ripping jazz players, and I was like wearing a fedora hat from Gorham Bros and trying to do Mumford & Sons songs. You know what I mean?
How did you get into Berklee? I don't know what the qualifications are, but I would imagine.
I honestly don't know why they let me. I probably wouldn't have let me in, looking back. I like showed up to the audition with like a kick drum and a tambourine on my foot, because there's this artist named Shaky Graves. I don't know if you remember Shaky Graves. I was doing like a Diet Shaky Graves thing. And
not to be confused with Diet Snapple.
Not to be confused.
Diet Shaky.
Diet, yeah, that's the theme.
Shaky Graves Light, Lite.
Lite, exactly.
It sounds like cool. That sounds impressive.
It was like...
Was it like the Flashdance scene where you had to audition for like people behind a desk?
Yeah, kind of.
I don't know if you get that right.
No, but I get what you're alluding to, and it wasn't not that.
You should go to the Galleria and watch Flashdance.
Okay, I got you, fam.
Go on.
No, it literally was at SIR, and like I did that, and like they let me in, and it was very nice. But once I got past being scared, I met so many incredible people, and I feel like I kind of cherry picked a little all-star team who a bunch of them are out there who are about to play with me right now. And it turned out to be a very positive experience for me.
So I imagine it sounds like, even though you grew up in this religious and kind of insular world, your parents weren't like super strict. They weren't like upset about you going or like, don't leave.
They tried the strict thing and then very quickly realized that it wasn't going to go anywhere good. So I think they changed. Like, my parents are fucking awesome. I think, like anything, it's like I just was built a little bit different than them. And then once I think we all got on the same page, which was like the middle of high school, it was smooth sailing. It was awesome.
I mean, that's awesome because you hear stories, and I'm not even just talking about like Orthodox Jews. I'm talking about Christians or any Amish, whatever, like any religion that is a strict religion where the parents are aghast if their kids want to leave the culture and spread their wings or whatever. It seems like that was not your experience.
Not ultimately, it was not there. We are very close. I love my parents.
That's awesome. So tell me a little bit more about how being in, this melting pot, I assume, of different types of people at Berklee College of Music, like just shook your world.
Yeah, I mean, I had kind of like carved out this identity in my head when I was 18. I think a lot of people when they're 18 think they land on who they're going to be for the rest of their life, which is obviously not true. But I was like pretty dead set on singing Hey Ho and slamming an acoustic guitar. And then I got to school and somebody showed me Channel Orange by Frank Ocean. I think that had just come out and like my brain exploded. And then I was living with like 3 dudes from Georgia who were all gospel players, and I'd never heard gospel music before. And I think musically and interpersonally, I just grew a lot and I was exposed to a lot more stuff, which sort of it killed my musical identity in a very good way. It kind of made me build from scratch and kind of figure out who I was, and I had a lot more tools to use to build myself back up.
I mean, just in the conversation we've been having in this short time, you clearly have a very encyclopedic musical knowledge. Like, you're just name checking all sorts of things. Did you learn that there? Is that where you sort of got that knowledge?
What happened was, when I was in high school, YouTube started happening, like we talked about, and then I was able to go down these rabbit holes because I wasn't like I knew I was listening to the local natives. I just would never know how to even go to a show, or I didn't know how to see Grizzly Bear because I was in the valley. Like, it didn't clock to me, but I would be able to sort of hear their music. And once I was able to latch onto that, I was able to sort of piece it together. I'm like not good at remembering anything, but music, band stuff, I can just remember really well. I wonder how many songs like between the two of us we just know in our head.
Like, how much time you got, guys?
I feel like we probably know like 20,000 songs between the two of us.
More than that.
Or however many.
Honestly.
So it's like, for some reason, that's the one thing our brains latch onto, and music and musical information is the one thing my brain latches onto.
Were you like that? I mean, obviously, all these experiences we're talking about are the things that sort of form you, but like, at what point in your life were you like, I'm going to be a musician, or like, I want to play music? Were you very young?
I was very young. Yeah. I think it was when was it? There was this camp counselor at my camp in Canada named Jordan Lass, who
is it a Jewish
of course, yeah. Camp Moshavah.
Camp?
Yeah, he could play the general by dispatch, and I saw that and I was like, that should be me too, I think. And then since then I've just been chasing it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So after Berklee, you came back to LA.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not to the Valley per se. That came
right
later.
back to my parents' back house, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So did you start off as a songwriter for other people first?
Yeah. So
and how'd that happen?
Yeah. So what happened was I came back and I was pretty set on being in a band and doing that thing. And I have a really good friend named Sasha Alex Sloan, who's an amazing artist.
I know that name.
She's like the LeBron James of songwriting. She's my favorite. And she was a songwriter, so I had seen her doing songwriting. And then she became an artist. She made that transition. And I don't know if you watched Entourage, but I was like her turtle. Like, she would like kind of take me around everywhere. And I was in her band. I was playing guitar in her band, and I got to have this whole experience. In that experience, we started writing together a lot. And I wrote this song with her that ended up doing well in the pop space.
What was the song?
It was a song called Older, which was her first kind of like breakout song.
It was her song.
Her song, exactly. And from that, I was kind of thrust into this pop songwriting world where they're like, oh, you're the pop songwriter guy. And I was like, me, really? And they're like, yeah, you. I'm like, oh, sick. This is awesome. I'm something. That's amazing. And that led me to like a 5-year journey of failing so hard at pop.
No.
I mean, I did the thing. You've
written for some other people successfully, right?
Yeah. I love songwriting for other people, but I think a specific type of songwriting, which is called pitch songwriting, which I was kind of put into, and it was a very interesting experience, and I'm glad I had it. And it sort of is the reason that I ended up doing Slim Dan, because I crashed and burned pretty hard at that. And then I had to like sort of look myself in the mirror and say, who do we want to be when we grow up, Danny? And I wanted to be Slim Dan more, I think.
So do you ever still do that? Do you ever
I
still
love
write for
songwriting for other people. I do that all the time.
Okay, cool.
I think I just like working with artists now versus like aimlessly writing songs.
Right. Got it. So some of the stuff you write about in your own music on Second Dinner, we're talking about how you grew up in the modern Orthodox Jewish culture. Like you sing about that sometimes. Like I want to ask about, I'm going to pronounce it wrong. Wiener Schnitzel? Did I pronounce it right?
It's like the restaurant.
Like the actual place in the
It's about
mall. Okay.
Magnolia and Laurel. Can you picture that?
Okay, I can actually.
Yeah, that's the Wiener Schnitzel.
I mean, there's that one, and there's another one I wrote down that specifically kind of mentioned that. But you definitely bring that. Well, first of all, I want to ask about Wiener Schnitzel, not just because I want to hear about the hot dog story.
Yeah.
But there's also because like I mentioned, my grandmother is from Encino. There's a line about like half of Encino being like drunk on your lawn or something.
Yeah.
Are these true? What are these stories?
I think it's sort of an amalgamation of my high school experience, the parties I would go to. I mean, you grew up in Tarzana, right?
Correct.
Like,
correct.
You can picture, I'm sure that you have a similar version of like these kind of like reckless valley nights where you're like...
It's like a John Hughes movie.
Yeah, it is. And it's sort of this like... the valley's unchecked. Like, obviously there were police that I guess were there, but like for some reason they never showed up in the valley. So we would be like in...
That's why the valley rocks.
That's why the valley, because you can get into trouble and not actually get into trouble, but you can do dumb shit. So it's a bunch of dumb nights in Tarzana, and I feel like that's more speaking to the second verse, which is like my experience of kind of testing my boundaries and my limits in high school with parties and stuff like that. Yeah. But
the hot dog story about like eating a hot dog for the first time.
That's the first verse.
A non-kosher hot dog.
Yes.
Is that based on?
That's exactly what, like, I'm often envious of writers who can use metaphors. Maybe I can use metaphors kind of, but like, or can speak vaguely. I tend to write pretty matter of fact. So I literally biked to the Wiener Schnitzel and took a hot dog and shoved it in my face.
And did you have an existential crisis over that?
I remember feeling like nobody could ever get me, because I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to eat it, and then a thunderbolt was going to come hit me, and then I was going to go like, ugh, and then I died. But
I mean, you might die from eating a hot dog, but not.
I found that out. I found out later that hot dogs are the way.
Or whatever. but not from God.
When I realized that I didn't die and I wasn't going to die, I was like, it broke the whole illusion for me, and I feel like it was a pretty game-changing moment, which is why I wrote that song.
Are you still religious now in like your own way?
I mean, I think I've found my own path with it, and I have a very strong Jewish identity, and I feel like I resonate with that. But I don't know if practices or rules is like where I find my meaning in it.
I assume you had a bar mitzvah.
Fuck yeah.
Was it lit?
No.
I had a bar mitzvah and it was lit.
Really?
I had a
so
Michael
jealous.
Jackson impersonator of mine.
That's so
yeah,
sick.
mine was pretty lit.
That's
sorry yours wasn't lit.
It's okay.
But I was, mine wasn't like a super religious.
Mine was like, all my friends got parties, and my parents made me go to like Israel to hang out with like my 95-year-old grandfather who didn't speak English, and I just had to like watch him pray. It was the weirdest.
Well, it's gonna be lit when you perform here.
This is my bar mitzvah.
Like you're very, very, very. Reformed.
In many ways, this is my bar mitzvah.
The tacos might not be kosher, but it's all right.
It's fine.
Like the whole idea of being like culturally Jewish, is that something you try to infuse in your lyrics? You mentioned it sort of like in a kind of almost Paul Simon-esque storytelling way in Celebrity Lookalikes, which is I think about your honeymoon or
yeah. I it's interesting because it's like I try to be myself. And whatever comes with that is what's going to probably come out. I don't know if I'm intentionally trying to be like, I feel like we could Jew this song up a little bit. Like, that's not where my head's at. It's more like, let's just talk about what happened.
I'm just picturing like a Saturday Night Live sketch with like, can you do that?
Do that. It's like, I'd imagine Larry David probably faces this a lot, and Seth Rogen. But they're like, can you just do the Jew thing? And I feel like for me, it's like, as long as I'm being myself, all parts of me will come across, hopefully, and that is definitely part of the Slimdan salad, if you know what I'm saying.
That's the reason why I ask, is because it's just not something. I mean, I guess if there's like Modest Yahoo or something, but it's just not like a. And obviously, there's lots of Jewish rockers,
by the way,
Perry Farrell to David Lee Roth.
Modest Yahoo. That's really fun. One time I saw him in concert, and he in the middle of the show said he had to pee and just left for 15 minutes. And like left the guitar player hanging. It was. Remember Trevor Hall? Does that name ring a bell?
A little bit.
Like white dude with dreadlocks.
Okay.
Was opening for him. Crazy show. But yeah, shout out to Montes Yahoo.
But obviously there's a lot of Jews in rock, like David Lee Roth, Perry Farrell, Adam Lambert, Adam Levine. The list goes on. But maybe not. There are certain artists that definitely who are Christian who will like mention it, like Carrie Underwood doing a song called "Jesus Take the Wheel" or whatever. But I don't really hear a lot of people singing about being culturally Jewish or just being Jewish in general in mainstream pop. So that's what I wanted to ask about. It's kind of unique.
I think it's like my job as a songwriter is just to talk about myself and shit as honestly as possible. So
I mean, you're good at that.
I'm trying.
So I should probably let you go so you could have your belated secular bar mitzvah.
I'm chilling right now. Yeah.
You're going to entertain us. But what's next for you? So second dinner came out a year ago, and then there was second dinner.
And this is us kind of like, I feel like putting a nice little bow tie on the whole second dinner. Trilogy is 3. What's 2?
Duo? What? Yeah.
Whatever. The second dinner era. Let's call it that. Okay. I feel like it's a nice little.
Yeah, just like Taylor Swift. You got eras. Just exactly like Taylor Swift.
I'm exactly like Taylor Swift. Exactly. I feel like it's the end of. It's sort of putting not at the end. Nothing ever ends. Everything is forever. But I put a little bow tie on that, and I'm focusing on making my next record right now, which I'm still in the early innings of. But like
second dinner,
third, second lunch, breakfast. I don't know, something like that. But I think we're just. I'm enjoying. Writing. I love writing songs. At the end of the day, my favoriteest thing to do in the whole entire world is write songs. Like that's the coolest thing to me. I'm obsessed with it. I think about it all the time. So I write a lot for other people. So I've been doing that. I've been working on other people's projects, and
when you're at liberty to say.
I'm trying to think of people. I'll tell you one person I'm excited about right now. There's an artist named Noah Urea who now goes by Noah, who I'm just a big fan of, and I think he's great. So I think I'm working on a lot of developing acts. I'm working on a couple different bigger artists, but it's like, regardless, I have this whole thing that's all. It's the core of it is all songwriting. So I'm very lucky that I get to do that, and I'm really grateful that I get to do that. And I have this life where I get to write for myself and then go write for other people and kind of hop back and forth. So I'm really enjoying just being a little park hopper right now and just getting both in and just writing songs.
You're living the dream. I know I need to let you go because you need to perform, but I ask this of a lot of people who write for other people. So I'm
chilling, by the way. What time is it?
Oh.
Yeah, don't make me go back out there.
I'll talk to you all day about Snapple and all sorts
I'll talk to you about anything, Lyndsey. But yeah, what's up?
Okay. If you could write for anyone, let's put it out there into the universe. If you could write for any star or whatever, any artist, who's like your dream?
Bruno Mars would be my answer. And I think not because I'm like obviously successful and it would be so cool to have that, but he's the best songwriting brain I can think, or one of the brains I think of where I'm like, what is going? I just want to understand.
Collab with him.
I want to learn from him. That's who I would want to write with. I feel like he's a brilliant songwriter, and I think we think about songs a little bit differently, but that's why I would want to work with him, because I want to learn.
Bruno Mars.
Yeah,
hit Slim Dan up.
Yeah, hit me up.
Come to Licorice Pizza. Hit him up.
Come to Licorice Pizza.
That would be awesome. And you never know. You never know.
So let's say Bruno Mars, and then let me throw one more in there, because I feel like we can maybe like Jason Isbell. Let's say Jason Isbell. Yeah. Yes. As the other side of it, which is like who I very much so have learned so much songwriting. Like I feel like I studied the shit out of his songwriting.
Foxes in the Snow, one of my favorite albums this year.
I mean, so gangster. So awesome, so cool. And he's like, I think he's he's a pro truth teller. He's really good at it, and I've been very inspired by him, and I would love to see what would happen. So Bruno Mars, Jason Isbell.
Jason, Bruno, hit him up. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to that happening someday. Looking forward to the next album.
Thank
and
you.
Anything else you're working on with Noah, but looking forward to seeing you perform out there. So I'm going to let you go, but
Thanks,
thank
bud.
you so much for coming. It's been such a treat.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. You're welcome back anytime. And thanks everybody for watching.